we get a chance to talk a little football with a guy we don't talk to very often, but always a treat when he joins us on the show. You see him all over the place on ESPN. He's with us on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. He is Adam Schefter. Adam, how are you, sir?
Gentlemen, what's going on? Dave, how you doing?
Good to have you on. Appreciate you, brother.
You got it. Anytime, my friend.
Hey, Adam, one of the things we've been talking about as we lead into the, OTAs, minicamp, all that is sort of the projections, the opinions of the national media on each team. And, you take it for what it is. It's a conversation piece. But it just seems to me there's a general lack of belief or optimism about this Seahawks team. And I get new coaching staff, new system, what have you. But I guess I'm a little surprised that some are predicting they're going to win less than 7 games. They're going to win the over-under 7.5. From the outside, how do you view this Seahawks team?
I view them as a playoff contender. I don't know where that conversation's coming from. I don't know who said what. But to me, they're a team that is certainly capable of going to the playoffs. And I think it's a new era there, obviously, with them changing over from Pete Carroll to Mike McDonald, who I think is going to do a great job for them. And I don't care what other people say about how many games they're going to win. I always think it's interesting that Vegas, if that is the line in Vegas, is 7.5 on the over-under. That's interesting to me. But, again, it doesn't really matter. Football is a sport in which we see time and time again there are any number of teams that win more than they're expected to and teams that lose more than they're expected to. So if their over-under is indeed 7.5, then they're expected to lose more than they win. And I just don't view the team in that particular category. I think they're a better team than that. And we'll see if that turns out to be right.
Well, Adam, you had a chance to get Mike McDonald on your, I think it was on your podcast. And tell us what stood out to you and that what impressed you about Mike McDonald.
Yeah, there's nothing there that was different that I didn't already know, Dave. He's an impressive guy, and he's somebody that commands respect, and he's somebody that essentially was going to get a head coaching job. Like, he was in play in Carolina, in Tennessee, in Washington. He winds up getting the Seattle job. I think he could have had other jobs if he really wanted them. I was a little surprised, frankly, and we talked a little bit about it, that he wound up taking the Seattle job because his wife was a former cheerleader for the Commanders franchise, and she's from that area. And they didn't really have any ties to this particular area, but yet they felt compelled to go out and choose the Seahawks. And, we talked a little bit about that. And the reason he did that was because he believed strongly in the general manager, John Schneider. And to me, it's kind of amazing that somebody could uproot his life, his family's life, because in large part due to his conviction for the general manager. But that's how strongly he felt about John Schneider and the job that he's done there in Seattle. And, that'll be the brain trust for this team moving forward here in the years to come. Mike McDonald, head coach, John Schneider, general manager, and Mike really believes in him. And now we'll see those two guys get to work and try to make this team better than 7.5 wins this upcoming season.
Adam, what's your take on the quarterback situation here? Geno's played, I think, better than anybody anticipated when he took over for Russell, but he's still kind of polarizing out here. People feeling like he's a placeholder. He's decent, but he's not great. And they make the move to bring in Sam Howell, which, based on what they gave up, a third and a fifth for a fourth and a sixth to bring him over represents some level of belief in what he can be. So how do you see this? How do you view Geno, and how do you see their overall quarterback situation there?
I think that they believe in Geno. I think he's given the first opportunity. I think he essentially has impressed so far during OTAs. He knows the players. He's worked with the wide receivers. I think that gives him an advantage. But I also think that Sam Howell is somebody that they've liked for an awful long time. And Sam Howell is a guy who, when you talk to people around the league, they believe in his abilities and talent. And I think the Seahawks did as well. And I remember his name coming up within that organization last season during the year as a guy that they were intrigued with. And I think that they continue to be intrigued by the guy. So it's up to Sam Howell to come in there and show that he'll be better than Geno Smith, who I think does have the respect of his teammates in the organization. People may not think much of him, but I thought he was very solid when he stepped in and was given the opportunity. And here's a guy who's been denied an opportunity throughout his career. And when he finally got one, I thought he made the most of it.
Hey, Adam, one guy that, for some reason, I don't know why, is polarizing here in Seattle is DK Metcalf. And Justin Jefferson just signing his big deal, and so now we're talking about DK. There's some people that think that, he's never complained, Adam, once about lack of targets or anything. He just gets a little bit heated. But where do you, nationally, from a national perspective, where does he fit in as far as top receivers? Are you a fan of his?
Yeah, I think he is a top wide receiver. And again, to me, I don't know, how much time does he have left in his contract right now?
He's got
this season and next
25, yeah.
2 years also. DK Metcalf is really enjoying this offseason quite a bit. He's really enjoying this. Like, when you see what's happened with the wide receiver salaries and watch them go up, look, it's on him. He's got the ability to be, just about as good as anybody in the league. And so if he goes out and puts up the numbers that he thinks he can and should, frankly, with his talent, then he's going to make more money than he can imagine. He's going to be paid and compensated to take care of the children of his children's children. Like, it's all there for him. And, when you think of guys that have a lot riding on their future, like DK Metcalf is a prime example. 2 years left in a contract in a wide receiver market that has been reset this offseason. Like, great spot for him.
Yeah.
Hey, Adam, looking at this roster as it sits, and obviously it's not complete yet. We'll see what it ultimately looks like. But if you were going to point out a reason outside of injury that the Seahawks didn't make the playoffs, what would it be?
That there's a lot of good teams in their division. Arizona's a team, I think, that's on the rise here. The Niners have been very strong. The Rams have been strong. Like, everybody's not going to make it. So typically the teams don't make it. They suffer some key injuries along the way. They lose that momentum. They lose the confidence. They turn over the football. It's the same things that win in football every year. And to me, this team has the ability to compete for the playoffs. If it stays healthy, if it's smart with the football, it should be there at the end.
Hey, Adam, the NFLPA announcing, that they want to try to put everything together instead of having all of these mini camps, and it's all just one big long season. And I think a lot of it, I think for the players, if it's about longevity and cutting down on these soft tissue type of injuries, I'm all for it. But what's your take on their proposal?
I think it's a work in progress. I think that the union is always reviewing things. I think that teams would hate it. I've already heard from a number of teams that are praying it doesn't work. They don't like how this would be done, where basically the offseason would start right after the season, go on, and then you'd have a ramp up to training camp. Look, there already has been a lot that's changed in the league. There'll continue to be a lot that changes in the league. We see, obviously, that the league wants 18 games on the schedule. We'll see how that works out, whether or not that takes hold. But it's all going to be tied together. It's constantly evolving. We're going to see more and more international games. It only stands to figure that the off-season workout schedule will at some point be altered in some type of way.
Adam Schefter of ESPN has been our guest here with Wyman and Bob, Seattle Sports on 710. Adam, always a pleasure to speak with you. We appreciate you cutting out a few minutes for us. Thanks so much, man.
Dave and Bob, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. Have a great day.